Rectius vive licini neque altum semper urgendo neque dum procella scautus orrescist nimium premendo litus inicum auream quisquis mediocritatem diligi tutus caret obsoleti sordidibus tetti caret invidenda sobrius aula. Meglio vivrai, Licinio, se non sempre al largo tenderai e se per cauto orrore di burrasche non vorrai costeggiare le insidiose rivere. Chiunque predilige l'aurea linea media, sicuro schiva lo squallore d'un tugurio in rovina e sobrio evita una reggia che susciti l'invidia. Queste sono le odi di Orazio. E cominciamo a parlare in latino in una lezione che terremo in inglese. E terremo in inglese, lo capirete alla fine, però questa introduzione dal latino dobbiamo passare per l'italiano, perché su questa idea di laurea mediocritas è uno di quei termini come il est modus in rebus e altre espressioni simili. C'è anche, siccome tutti voi al Politecnico, almeno molti di voi hanno fatto greco, mi ricordo c'era anche meson tekai ariston, il mezzo è la cosa migliore di Aristotele. Quindi che l'idea che il medio vada bene, però guardate che sono partito col latino e ve lo spiego in italiano, perché c'è un limite a tutto, si può fare in inglese facilmente, però lo facciamo in italiano. Laurea mediocritas di cui parlavano i latini, che poi è stato ripreso dall'est modus in rebus, che era un po' diverso, che non è una frase, che la usavano i filosofi scolastici, è un'altra cosa, è la meravigliosa via di mezzo, l'inglese la traduce golden mean. Per esempio, il coraggio è un esempio di aurea mediocritas, perché è la giusta via di mezzo fra pavidità e incoscienza. Allora il coraggio è l'aurea mediocritas, non è la mediocritas non si traduce mediocrità. Questo è importante, così sgombriamo il campo da equivoci. Average is over. In an essay entitled Making It in America in the Atlantic, the author Adam Davidson relates a joke from the cotton country about just how much a modern textile mill has been automated. The average mill has only 2 employees today, a man and a dog. The man is there to feed the dog, and the dog is there to keep the man away from the machines. Good, you understand. That's a lead of a Tom Friedman column, which il nostro rettore has right over there. Tom Friedman in the New York Times, January 24th, entitled Average is Over. So I've borrowed the title. But when you borrow, it means you have to say who you steal from. So I borrowed from a colleague, Tom Friedman, in the New York Times, the title Average is Over. The title is his. You're going to hear, what you're going to hear next is mine. Whatever you've done in the past, and no matter what you want to do in the future, I think, given that your average age is probably sort of 25, 28, forget about the professor over here, but most of you belong to the sort of, have an age that starts with a 2, I think there are 8 things to remember. 8 things to remember. You can call it free advice or patronizing, it's your call. 8 things, and 8 is a cool number. It's symmetrical, it's mysterious, and it's sensuous. And the Chinese love it, by the way. The first thing to remember, so 8 things. Number 1 is passion. If you don't like something, or if you do it half-heartedly, you won't do it well. Out there are people who are going to do it extremely well, who have passion, enthusiasm, and gut, and hunger to succeed. When you live here, before you start to work, you have to travel to Asia, and you know what I mean. Or you have to travel to some East Coast university. I've been to Harvard. If you go to Harvard and to any undergrad course, you're shocked. I mean, you're wondering, which continent am I in? Because most of the faces, most of the faces are Asian. They have passion, they have enthusiasm, they have family behind them, pushing hard, ambitious. These are the people you have to compete with. I'm in my 50s, I can say, who cares? But you can't. That's something you cannot say. Go there. You may or may not know that there are universities in America that had to introduce quotas in order to protect American students. I gave a speech at the Rutgers University in New Jersey, and they told me they are one of them. But there are quite a few. Because if you just accept that merit is the only way to go into in an Ivy League, a top American university, mostly and all, not only, but it will be mostly Asian students from Asian families, and Chinese and Korean and Southeast Asian. So that's what you have to deal with. Passion. Average is over. Also, when I say passion, means you have to pick a job you like. You'll probably have to compromise in the beginning, but you have to pick a job you like. Waking up in the morning and marching towards a job you don't like is a life sentence. Don't do that. Number 2, objectivity. What is your talent? What is my talent, you should ask yourself. Where is my aptitude? Aptitude is APT. Attitude, which in Italy people translate attitude for atteggiamento, is something else. Attitude with double T means atteggiamento. Aptitude means predisposizione, means where is my talent? Am I a natural in what? I personally love playing football and skiing. And I remember I played in the very bottom of the league. And I really know about football because I support the best team, of course. But I really know about football, but I had no particular talent. But I had a tremendous time, but it was not my job. I was playing in terza categoria, in the Brescia-Bergamo-Crema league. I was the only player who would use subjunctive, congiuntivo, while playing. When I had a hard foul, I would shout, arbitro, ma se mi avesse preso, and everything was like frozen. Avesse preso, periodo ipotetico. They couldn't believe it. And in fact, they hit me even harder after that, and I deserved it. And I did deserve it, but I had a tremendous time, but I had no talent. I could see there were people with talent. I could see how people could play, volley the ball with their left foot and shoot it straight in the goal. And now there are people writing in newspapers and writing books who write just I used to kick the ball with my left foot. But they don't know, because they never look at number 2, objectivity. They never ask themselves, where is my talent? What am I really good at? I love to sing and play music, but I was an absolute disaster. I remember when I was a kid, I was promoted 3 times to the very first course. So everybody was going on to second course, and not to humiliate me, they wouldn't say he's been rejected. They say he's been promoted back to the first course. Even at 6th, after 3 times, I realized something funny was going on. And the final straw, when the maestro di chitarra asked me, can I have the mi cantino, the tiniest little string? And he said, I really needed to cut cheese. And that was really humiliating, and I gave up music. So no sport, no music. And I have a law degree. Actually, I took a law degree. I had a good result, 4 years and something during my university at Pavia University. I did everything, playing football, skiing, traveling the world. But I studied hard, and I got my degree with 110, but doesn't matter. Because I remember I studied with people, and they had the extra wit, the extra talent. They would bring to the law passion, and also they were good. They are much better, and I knew, and I cannot compete with them. I could be an average good notaio or avvocato or magistrato, but I say I want to do something where I can be really good and enjoy using my talents. Not only Jesus Christ said that it's not a faculty, or you may or may not use your talents. You must use your talents. If you don't, it's a very big mistake. Average is over. Hard work and right attitude are not enough. You must bring your talent, other people will. Number 3, logic. I love to say this inside the Polytechnical. Logic is crucial, but it's not enough. The development of the balance between science and art, logic and imagination, it's important. Attacking problem within both sides of the brain is necessary. As you well know, the left brain commands logical, sequential, rational, analytical, objective, and look at parts. The right hand, random, intuitive, holistic, synthesizing, subjective, and look at the wholes. By the way, as you have probably read, the recent studies have shown that the male-female using different parts of the brain is basically bullshit. It's not true. Women are not better using just the right part. They are just better, period. You better know. When tackling a problem, do not follow the linear sequential logic encouraged by PowerPoint presentation. That's why today I didn't use Keynote or PowerPoint. PowerPoint is good, but PowerPoint is a tool. Your brain is so much better than PowerPoint. Bullet points, everything is good, but get out of that PowerPoint. Learn to think outside the box. I was seconded at The Economist back in '93, and then I was the Italian correspondent from '93 to 2003. And in fact, I was worried. I was born in Crema, which is sort of 30 miles down the road, southeast, not far from here. Anybody from Crema here? No. Normally there is at least one person from Crema. My parents are from Crema, so I'm absolutely, you know, I was a young man, not not young anymore, and with no particular English or American background. I just learned English as you learn guitar, playing football, or whatever. I probably had a little talent or a little aptitude for that. And I remember going to The Economist, I was terrified and said, oh my God, you know, The Economist is probably the most influential newspaper, they don't want to be called magazine, newspaper in the world, and I said, oh my God, you know, I'm from Crema, okay, I've been a London correspondent, but these people are not only the best newspaper, the best journalists, all of them Oxford or Ivy League American, I mean, they're really top notch. And I was worried, I say, oh, I'm gonna write in English and everybody's gonna laugh at me. And then I realized that it's not important. And that's why you don't have to worry in here if your English is far from perfect. And then one day, I was sitting there after 2 or 3 days, and the deputy editor came to me and I said, Beppe, how do you spell maintenance? Manutenzione, maintenance. And I said, hold on. So you are from Eton and Oxford, you are the deputy editor, and you ask me from Crema how to spell maintenance. And then I realized that actually we are, most of the time, we Europeans, so Southern Europeans, we are better at spelling than most of my British friends, and definitely of all the Americans I know. Well, they elected a president who couldn't spell potato. So don't worry. And at The Economist, they told me something which I've used these in the logic. Number 3 of my advice is the logic. They say, Beppe, The Economist is what it is because we always thought that in a newspaper, in any organization, you need the roundheads and the cavaliers. And I say, hold on, what are they? I remember vaguely like sort of England in the 17th century or whatever, Cromwell. And in fact, I was right. Roundhead was a nickname given the supporters of the parliament during the English Civil War, also known as parliamentarian. And they fought against King Charles I, and supported of the king was called the Cavaliers. So King Cavaliers, the parliamentarians called right. It's just a division, like we have Montecchi and Capuleti and Guelfi e Ghibellini, or Interisti or Juventini. You want to explain like 2 very different kind of human beings. No, I'm joking about Inter and Juve. The rest is true. Or Microsoft and Apple. Or Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. We can go on and on. Okay, and the Roundheads and Cavaliers, they use it because it's from their own history. And the Roundheads are the people in The Economist who maybe come from a university like this. They are number crunchers. They're good with numbers. They think logically. They're very good. They use mostly the left brain. And it's like my friend Bill Emmott, who's the editor-in-chief of The Economist for 13 years, was absolutely a Roundhead. But The Economist without the Cavaliers would be boring. You really need the Cavaliers. And the Cavaliers are the people who can write better, they have ideas, they have a better sense of humor, and they give a special flair. But The Economist with only the Cavaliers will probably be a little shallow or make mistakes. So The Economist is what it is because they think they can work together and bring in the Roundheads and the Cavaliers. I walked through the door and they told me, Cavaliers, immediately. Obviously, in a newspaper, I'm a Cavalier. But you probably need us, but we need the others. So decide, I'm a Roundhead, I'm a Cavalier, but do not remember that even logical Roundheads need the sort of Cavalier side of them. Number 4, irony. Irony is important. It's the best antidote to intolerance. I was in Torino, the Salone del Libro, and Claudio Magris was explaining about this. Irony is the opposite of average. There is no average irony. All irony is unique and special. Irony means you're able to see the paradox of life, the apparent absurdity of the world. Giorgio Manganelli, a great Italian writer, once said, "Solo l'ironia consente di prendere alle spalle gli dei." Great sentence. Only irony allows you to catch gods off guard. I met bright people with no sense of humor, and I met, of course, stupid people with no sense of humor, but never a person with a sense of humor who was stupid. Never. Be prepared to be surprised. Do not allow surprise by the world, by the people you work with, even by injustice. But do not allow this to spoil your mood, your performance, your outlook to life. A sense of justice is important, but watch out. There was a book, a great book actually, I read it when I was 19. It was called Your Erroneous Zones, Le Vostre Zone Erronee, not Erogenous Zone. That's a different book. Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer. He sold 6 million books. He was one of the very first, like self-help book. Terrific book. And he said you have to work out on the zone erogen, the erroneous zones. And the number one was watch out for sense of justice. I know I have friends who are deeply honest, but they just go berserk when they see people around them who don't follow the rules, who are furbi, who steal, cheat. Okay, do your best to fight these people, but do not allow these people to spoil your life, your mood, your attitude. Otherwise they've won. That's very important. In newspapers, in universities, everywhere. In companies, everywhere. Number 5. So remember, 1, passion, 2, objectivity, 3, logic, 4, irony. Number 5 is test. Another book, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, published in 1998. The author is called Michael Gelb. And I'm quoting, quote, "Leonardo always asked himself what he did not know, examining his own experience. We easily slip into assumption because everyone around us thinks the same way. That is why markets move the way they do. Fight it, but what Mr. Gelb calls anti-commercial martial arts, for instance. Anti-commercial martial arts. Arti marziali antipubblicitarie. I explain. When watching commercials, or reading broker's note, or listening to professors, or speaker, or reading a newspaper, or listening to politicians, yes, even Beppe Grillo, try to knock them down. Don't shout, but inside, what is not entirely convincing. In Italy, tribal judgment comes first. People think, first of all, is this goes well with my tribe, and that, lots of things, political judgment, even football supporters think first, is this right for my team or not? Get out of that and try to judge and also knock down without becoming unpleasant. You just do it privately, but always doubt. Skeptical is great. Cynical, disaster. So become ironically skeptical, not cynical. Cynical, you have time when you are 50 to become, you're too young to become cynical. Number 6, elasticity. Be agile, nimble, and quick. Ingegneria is a field of studies. It's not a job description, not anymore, and it's not an attitude. I never thought it was, because I met too many bright and cavalier kind of engineers coming from here all over the world. So I never bought that legend that engineering have to be like sort of square-headed and predictable. Not at all, of course. But do not do that. Do not fall into that trap yourself. Sometimes you have to choose your target after you shoot. There was an Italian poet called Valerio Magrelli who wrote that. Talvolta bisogna saper scegliere il bersaglio dopo il tiro. Choose your target after you shoot. Especially in this economic climate and everything else, sometimes you have to be flexible and bring this away. It's a great line, choosing the target after you shoot. Doesn't mean being inconsistent and whatever. It means sometimes you have to be agile and elastic and not rigid. How often, speaking Italian, you use expressions such as mai, sempre, assolutamente sì? Often, probably. Not only assolutamente sì is horrific, it's a waste of 6 useful syllables. 5, assolutamente, 6. Just say sì, no. But that shows that sometimes our mind goes towards that kind of rigidity. Mai, sempre, assolutamente sì. Learn to appreciate shadows. A willingness to embrace ambiguity and paradox and uncertainty. Think of Mona Lisa's smile, since we quoted Leonardo. Think of sensualità. You can be an engineer, but sensualità is not forbidden, and it doesn't mean only sex. Sensualità means refining of the senses, especially sight, as a mean to a living experience. You should work in comfort, surrounded yourself with objects you find beautiful, and even learn to draw. Mr. Gelb, the Leonardo guy, says in his book. Elasticity does not mean sloppiness and sciatteria. My advice, I know it's boring because it's something you heard from your parents, from your teacher, from catechism, but it's really true. It really helps, it's going to help you in your job, whatever you do, is do not lie, do not call in sick, don't gossip, do not spend time around coffee machines, pub and waterfront. Pub, you go drink and chat up girls or boys, that's good. But there are people who spoil their professional life in gossiping and discussing and knowing, always know nothing. You know, something happened at Corriere della Sera in Italian, I'm the last to know. Did that harm me? Not at all. I had plenty, I have my brain, a lot of RAM in my brain to do other things instead of worrying who's doing what, who's resigning, who's going up and down. Do what you have to do. Don't do that. Be elastic and accept compromises, but not all compromises. How do I know? Simple. If your colleague, friends, and family knew, would you be embarrassed? That's the question to ask straight. How do I know if a compromise is acceptable or not? Simple. I repeat, if your colleague, friends, or family knew, would you be embarrassed? If you sleep your way to the top, young lady or young man, because it doesn't, people will find out sooner or later. It's absolutely certain. It's a fact of life. After 30 years in my business, I know, because it's become known. Do not sell out your ideals, and the ends do not justify the means. I remember saying this inside the Cattolica University, explaining that no matter what you think, but when I hear people that go around with the label of a Catholic organization, and in fact they say, we don't care what means we use, people we go out with politicians we support, because what we really care is the goal. In Italy, that's bloody dangerous. Do not do that. Do not allow other people to do that. No. I want to check your means. I want to know about your friends, people you got, because you can check those things. The ideals, far away in the future. And there are entire organizations, including Catholic organizations, which have built their own fortune on il fine giustifica i mezzi, which is, by the way, a sentence not even Machiavelli used. That's a summary of Machiavelli thinking, but Machiavelli never ever said il fine giustifica i mezzi, just to know. Elasticity does not mean not having methods and rules. To do good things occasionally doesn't help. You must deliver all the time, be consistent and reliable. We Italians are admired all over the world for our flair and brilliancy, less so for our reliability. Prove them wrong. 7, curiosity. You need a curious approach to life and unrelenting quest for continuous learning. In practice, carry a notebook with you and write down observation and thought. iPhone will do, but quaint notebook is even better. And I'm really like an over-connected journalist and person, but notebook and writing is good. Ask questions of what you see. Again, the Leonardo guy used to remind us that Leonardo asked himself all the time question, you know, how birds can fly? That's a bloody good question. Still, but at the time, can you imagine? Read a newspaper every day, possibly Corriere, but you decide. Read a newspaper every day, listen to the news, read books, go to the movies, use Twitter wisely. I'm looking around and someone in this room will know why I'm saying this. Use Twitter wisely. But Twitter is a great tool. Information is power, even for you. 8, no surrender. Be passionate, be humble, and be ambitious. One does not rule out the other. Average is over. I do think, and I'm not being rhetoric, that dreaming is not your right, is your duty. I know, and you know, what the selfish generation, our generation, is trying to do to you. It's what the Americans call baby boomers. I call them the selfish generation, la generazione egoista. I know what we're trying to do to you. Ignore us. Keep going. I do believe, passionately believe this, the generations, empires, and societies, and companies, and recent Italian governments decline and crumble because of complacency, laziness, bad habits, vice, vizi, not because of hard times. That is not an excuse to give you a hard time. But when hard times hit, never forget that. What the Americans call the greatest generation, I have a dad, my father was born in 1917, he's still alive and well, and he's extremely bright and reads 4 newspapers every day and gives me marks for my article in Corriere della Sera. If I, Beppe 7, 6 today you were not really in... and my father was, I told him, Papà, I told him, sei nato 10 mesi prima del comunismo. And he answered, e gli ho già dato 20 anni. Okay, their generation had everything, you know. He was born during a war, he had fascism and the war. He was in the war for 3.5 years, a Navy officer. He had the post-war, rebuilt Italy, and some of them are still around, and even those who are not, probably your grandparents, our parents, they really rebuilt this country. They had the hardest time. You know, what is happening now is nothing compared to what happened to us. But these, you are probably the most unlucky generation after them. It's not an easy time, I know it perfectly well, but the only good thing I can say is I'm sorry for this because it's part of your responsibility, but generation, empire, and companies, blah, 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 is not this which is going to bring you down, other things. Bring methods and bravery and joy and fantasy and irony in what you do. Travel and take with you, since you are Italian, what an Italian writer called Goffredo Paris called Il sentimento italiano senza nome, which is, of course, I'm not going to explain what it is, otherwise there is no mystery, but Il sentimento italiano, what makes us special still. Do not be too upset with our generation, actually say thank. We are not a hard act to follow. Non siamo difficili da imitare o da seguire. You are going to shine and succeed. So good luck and thank you.